Your phone buzzes at 2:47 a.m. and the message reads, "The Rothko you sold last month for $40 million might be a fake." This is level 7. This is the version of you sitting in a penthouse office above a Chelsea gallery, $500 million deep into an empire you built with your own hands, staring at an authentication report that could end everything overnight. But before we get here, before the $500 million, before your name gets whispered in the same breath as Gagosian and Zwerner, let's go back to $0, back to level 1. There are 7 levels between where you start and where you're sitting right now, and here's the number that should scare you. 94% of people who try to build a career as an independent art dealer are gone within 5 years. You are about to become the 6%. It will cost you almost everything you have that isn't money. Level 1. You are 23 years old. You have a fine arts degree nobody told you was useless, and a job title that sounds glamorous on a business card. Gallery assistant, Chelsea, Manhattan. Your salary is $34,000 a year before taxes in a city where your studio apartment alone eats $1,400 a month. You share a 2-bedroom with 3 other people because none of you can afford otherwise. Your job is not to look at art. Your job is to answer the phone in a voice that sounds like money, to remember which collector takes his espresso with oat milk, to stand silently for 6 hours during an opening while wearing shoes that are slowly destroying your feet. The gallery owner, a woman named Corinne, who has run this space for 20 years, pulls you aside during your first week and says, "You're not here to have opinions. You're here to answer phones and remember whose champagne glass is whose. The moment you think this is about the art, you'll fail." You go home that night and cry a little, not because it's hard, but because you realize she's right, and you don't know yet if you can live inside that truth for the next decade. Level 2. You are 27. 4 years of remembering names and champagne preferences have taught you something valuable: who actually buys and why. You've moved into a junior art advisory role at a small firm that helps private collectors build portfolios. Your salary is $68,000, plus a sliver of commission on sales you help close, maybe another $20,000 in a good year. The structural problem at this level is brutal, and nobody warns you about it. You do the relationship work, you fly to Basel, you fly to Miami, you spend 11 hours a day for 5 straight days managing a client's anxiety about whether a piece will appreciate, and then your senior advisor closes the deal and takes the credit and most of the commission. Your mentor, a sharp, tired man named Felix, tells you over drinks one night, "The client doesn't remember your name, they remember mine. That's the business." You're building your book in the dark, and one day you'll take it with you, or you'll die here waiting. Your relationship of 3 years ends that same year because you missed her sister's wedding for an art fair in Hong Kong, and when she asked you to choose, you didn't answer fast enough. Level 3. You are 31. You've done what Felix told you, quietly, carefully. You took your book of contacts and you left. Now you are an independent private dealer. No gallery, no firm, just you, your phone, and a growing list of collectors who trust your eye. Your net income this year is $220,000 after expenses, and for the first time in your life, that number feels like freedom. But the structural problem at this level is cash flow, and it is vicious. To close a deal, you sometimes have to buy the piece yourself first, tying up $80,000, $100,000, $150,000 of your own money for months while you find the right buyer. One wrong purchase, one piece that turns out to have a murky provenance, and you could lose everything you've built in a single transaction. You stop sleeping through the night. A fellow dealer named Marcus, older, harder, tells you flatly over coffee, "Everyone in this business has almost gone broke at least once. The ones who make it are the ones who survive the almost." You start taking sleeping pills at 31 years old, and you tell yourself it's temporary. Level 4. You are 36. You've opened your own gallery space in the Lower East Side, 4,000 square feet, your name on the door. Revenue this year, $1.2 million. Your personal draw from that is $180,000, which sounds like a lot until you look at the other number. the one you don't say out loud at dinner parties. $400,000 in debt, rent, insurance, staff salaries, art fair booth fees that run 6 figures each. You represent 11 artists now, and the structural problem is that the moment one of them gets attention from a bigger gallery, they leave, and they take years of your investment in their career with them. Your wife, married to you for 6 years, sits you down one evening and says quietly, "I married a person. I live with a business that happens to sleep in our bed 4 nights a week." She leaves 8 months later. You keep the gallery open. You tell people it was mutual. Before we go further, if you're the kind of person who wants to see exactly how the next levels break, hit subscribe, because it only gets stranger from here. Level 5. You are 41. You've pivoted from primary market representation into the secondary market, buying and reselling established works from estates, divorces, and quiet private sales. Your net worth crosses $9 million this year. But the ceiling doesn't disappear, it just gets harder to see. The structural problem here is reputational exposure. A single authentication dispute, one collector claiming you sold them a misattributed work, can trigger a lawsuit that costs more in legal fees than the sale itself ever earned you. You start carrying insurance policies most people have never heard of. Your daughter, 12 years old now, tells you on a rare Sunday together, "You promised you'd come to my recital last year too." You did? You missed both. A rival dealer named Priya, who built a similar path, tells you at a dinner in London, "At this level, money stops being the scoreboard. Trust is the scoreboard, and trust takes 20 years to build and 20 minutes to destroy." Level 6. You are 47. You founded a full advisory firm now, 16 employees, offices in New York and London, an empire quietly valued at $80 million. You are advising billionaires on 9-figure collections, sitting in rooms where a single conversation moves more money than most people see in 10 lifetimes. But the isolation at this level is total. You cannot fully trust your own staff, because 2 former employees have already tried to poach your clients. You cannot fully trust your clients, because half of them view you as replaceable the moment a bigger name calls. A mentor from decades ago, now retired, tells you over a phone call you almost didn't take. You wanted to be at the top. Nobody tells you the top is the loneliest floor in the building, because everyone up here is calculating what you're worth to them, not who you are. You hang up and sit in your office for 40 minutes without moving. Level 7. You are 52 years old, $500 million in empire value, a name that appears in the same sentences as the legends of this industry, and you are back at that 2:47 a.m. message about the Rothko. Here is the revelation nobody in this business says out loud until they've lived it. At the very top, you are not the person who decides what art is worth. The ultra-wealthy collectors do, the ones who move markets with a single purchase, the ones who can make or destroy a dealer's reputation with one phone call to another billionaire. You built an empire, but the empire was never fully yours. You are the broker of other people's taste, other people's legacy, other people's money, and the moment you forget that, the market reminds you, sometimes at 2:47 in the morning. The forged Rothko turns out to be real after all, verified by a second lab 3 days later. But the 3 days you spent not knowing cost you something you can't get back, your last remaining illusion that you were ever truly safe. So that's the climb. $0 to $500 million, 7 levels, and at every single one, the ceiling rose again, and the personal bill came due before the money did. If you made it through all 7, you know now that the price was never the years. It was the version of you those years quietly took. Next episode, we're stepping into a different empire entirely. POV, building a private equity fortune, from a $100,000 analyst salary to a $1 billion firm, level by level. Tell us in the comments, which level cost you the most if you're already living inside one of these industries. We read every single one.